Have you ever had a money or career question you really wanted to ask, but didn't know who to go to or just felt uncomfortable even bringing it up? You're not alone. Talking about money can feel intimidating, even scary. And that's exactly what I'm trying to change. That's why I created a free virtual coffee chat, a casual, no pressure 20-minute conversation where you can bring one thing you're wrestling with and we'll talk it through. No judgment, no jargon, no sales pitch, just clarity, ease, and a real answer from someone who gets it. If you've got something on your mind, don't sit in the confusion. Book a spot at limitfreelife.com and let's sip and sort it out. Hey there, and welcome to Money and You. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. My search for more fulfilling work led me to career and business coaching, where I stumbled upon a game-changing discovery. Money issues often start with our mindset and habits. You see, our relationship with money is the key to overcoming those frustrating financial obstacles. As an entrepreneur, coach, and problem solver, I'm passionate about helping you create a great relationship with money. Because, turns out, that's the foundation for a limit-free life. Each week on Money and You, I speak with amazing guests about all things money, mindset, practical tips, and everything in between. We're here to give you new insights, education, and empowerment so money can be one of your favorite relationships. So join us for some lively conversations and let's transform your financial life together. Hello, and welcome to the Money and You Show. We have a great episode for you today. I'm super excited about our guests, and we're going to get into, of course, my favorite topic, which is your beliefs around money and your emotions around money. But we're going to talk about it in the context of somebody very unique and interesting in what he has done with his career and what he's built and how he retired super early and overcame some interesting obstacles. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and I think this is going to be a really interesting show. It covers a lot of different bases. So what if you could turn your professional expertise into a high-profit, low-maintenance education business that runs 24/7, 365 days a year? Today's guest, Justin Allan Montgomery, did just that, starting and scaling an 8-figure course business, and now he's helping others do the same through ProCourseStart. He's here to bust myths, share frameworks, and challenge the just build a funnel crowd, which I love. If you're a skilled and licensed professional who's tired of trading hours for dollars, I think this episode is going to really change your mindset. So Justin, welcome.
Hey, Michelle, thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, no, I'm so thrilled that you're here. So maybe you can give us some background. We just talked for a second about, how you grew up, for one thing, which I think I want to get into in more detail. But how did you get to this place where you have built this 8-figure course business?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm a nurse practitioner by training, and so many people might not know what a nurse practitioner is. It's kind of in between a nurse and a doctor, basically. So, like, I can prescribe medications, I can diagnose patients with things and things like that. Like, chances are you might have seen a nurse practitioner before in an urgent care or an ER or whatever. So I graduated NP school in 2013 and kind of, worked standard jobs as a nurse practitioner for, almost a decade. I was working in emergency departments and urgent cares and that sort of a thing, and got kind of sick of working for other people. And so started a couple practices, started a couple men's health clinics, and the thing though was like I was still like my time was still tied to every dollar I was making. Like I still had to exchange my time for every dollar I was making. I still had to provide a service, and if I wasn't providing that service, I wasn't getting paid. And so I wanted a business. I wanted something that would develop passive income for me outside of investing in like bonds, And so I started a continuing education course business called the Elite Nurse Practitioner. And so what I did in that business was that I taught medical providers how to start their own practice. So a very niched course business. And so I taught people how to start their own medical practices. And in about 3 years, that business was generating 7 figures a year, and it just blew my mind on how quick it grew. So I was just, I hit the perfect target market, right place, right time. We launched our first course right when COVID hit, so people were stuck at home. So it was
Yeah.
just one of those things that was just, right place, right time. And
Uh,
yeah, that business grew to, an 8-figure business and allowed me to essentially retire at the age of 39. I mean, I'm not fully retired. I mean, I had the option if I wanted to just call it quits, I could, but I mean, I can only fish so much every day and work out and stuff. So yeah.
I love that. I love that for so many reasons. I recently had another guy who had done the early retirement thing, and but same thing. It's like what early retirement actually means is you just now have the freedom to do work on your own terms, basically, if you want to work. And if you didn't want to work, you could walk away. But it's a beautiful thing. I mean, it goes way beyond just having enough money. I mean, it's really about the impact on your whole life, which I love what you were talking about with trading your time for dollars. Now, I was curious about this because this is something you learn when you study entrepreneurship and things like that. But had you studied to figure that out, or was it just obvious to you that, you know,
I mean, it was kind of just obvious to me. I
yeah,
don't know. I just, some people just have that mindset. They have an
yeah,
entrepreneurial kind of mind. I kind of always have. I was always able to just kind of look at opportunities and look at the world objectively and not emotionally. Like I could just see how businesses worked. I see, I'd watch commercials, and instead of just being, just accepting the messaging or the brainwashing the commercial was trying to do. I analyzed it,
yeah.
and so I don't know. I was just kind of born with it, but also, I did educate myself. I've listened to a lot of podcasts. I would say I have I have an MBA that I earned through business podcasts. Yeah.
Yeah, which these days you can do. I mean, it's pretty great actually. Um, so yeah, so let's. I mean, obviously, it's a great career, nurse practitioner. It's not easy to even achieve that goal, and these days, more and more, when you try to make an appointment with your doctor, they offer you a nurse practitioner to speak to. So it's a growing, really good career choice. That said, you obviously had a big drive to make more money and give yourself more freedom. And I'd love to go back a little bit because we do love to talk about mindset and people's, particular relation. Everybody has a unique relationship with money, and a lot of it is how they grew up. So if you're open to it, I'd love to hear a little about how your, beginnings really kind of impacted the whole thing.
Yeah. Grew up poor. I think like a lot of very high functioning, high successful entrepreneurs, a lot of entrepreneurs that do well in life, come to find out, grew up poor. They kind of made their own wealth. They were motivated to not have to live the way, their parents lived, or, I think that just growing up and not being able to just even get a candy bar while we're at the grocery store, or not being able to get Cocoa Pebbles, but instead we had to get the, Walmart brand, things like that.
Yeah.
There's all these wants and desires as a kid growing up, and especially hit you when you become a teenager. And I just remember just thinking to myself, like, I don't want to live like this for the rest of my life. Like, I see other people, and I'm like, this is the United States. I mean, you can get whatever you want if you put the work into it. And so yeah, I think it really hit me when I was like, I remember in high school, I believe I was a senior in high school. So I was like 18, and single mother. My dad was an alcoholic. He was a truck driver, and so he was never around. And then they finally got divorced, and literally nothing changed when they got divorced because he was never around anyways. And so, like I remember in high school, my senior year, I remember, we woke up one morning to go to school, and, I go to brush my teeth or whatever, and there was no water. I was like,
Yeah.
Mom, the water's out. She's like, yeah, I wasn't able to pay the water bill. And it was like $50 or something, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so, like, I remember not having running water for 3 days. So I had to drive to my grandparents' house to take showers and stuff, and like, I remember just at that point, I was like, I'm never, ever, ever going to live this way ever again. And so, I always made good grades. I always studied hard because I knew that if I wanted to break out of this, I had to educate myself. And so I always made good grades. I graduated high school with like a 3.6 or something. And I was like, I'm going to go to college. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. So at that point, I was like, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to do something different. And so when I got to college, that's the first time in my life that I was around people who actually were doing well. You know what I mean? Being with other kids whose parents were successful, being with professors who were successful and actually getting mentorship and things like that. And, being shown that there's a whole world out there outside of this little bubble of poverty that I grew up in. You were successful in my little, bubble if you were a manager at Lowe's or something,
Right,
And
right.
so for the first time, I was able to kind of get out of that shell and see the world. And so I decided I was like, I'm going to go into some medical field or something. I was going to go to dental school was what I originally planned on doing. And then, life happens. I ended up becoming a nurse practitioner. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you became that, and that led to this. So very interesting how life works. But yeah, I know the dental field really well, so I think you didn't make a bad choice. But yeah, I think that's really interesting, and I think everything's how you look at things. Everything's what you think. And so in your case, you thought, I'm doing something about this. And in some people's cases, they don't see a way out because they weren't really exposed to that. Like, you got exposed to it later. Some people never get exposed to it and don't think that's a possibility. So I love it when people come on like you and tell their stories because it's, not only is it that motivation that you felt, but there was also a belief that you could change your life, for the better, where some people don't have that. So I think it's, it's always very important to look at the thoughts you're having around, money and your life. And if those thoughts aren't serving you, to try to, find some better thoughts, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. So I also love what you ended up trying, because it sounded like you didn't know this was going to work, this course building thing, but you were looking for something and you tried it and it really did work, like in a way maybe you didn't expect. So, I think people want to transition their careers. Maybe they're tired of something like you, or maybe, but again, people get trapped. Some of that's mindset, some of that's just not seeing possibilities. But yeah, you found a kind of unique, creative way to try something. And I mean, what did go through your head when you did this? Like, what did you expect from it? And were you sure it would even work?
Yeah, I had no clue what I was doing.
Okay.
I didn't go into this with a plan, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I was a nurse practitioner. I was making $200,000 a year. I was making good money.
Hmm.
$200,000 a year from where I came from was
Right.
a lot of money.
Right.
I was able to buy a nice house and buy a car and go on vacations and I was Mr. Moneybags of the family basically. But I
Stop you there and
still.
ask a question really quick. Were you helping your family as a result of that? Like, was that part of your mindset? Like, okay, I'm the one making, good in the world, and now I have to go back and help people. Or maybe you just wanted to, I don't know. Or maybe you didn't.
Yeah, I became kind of the bank account of the family, so to speak. They always come to
Yeah.
me for help. Hey, Justin, I need $3,000 to put down on this car payment or something. Can you help me out? And sure. Lesson learned: never loan money to family because it's not a loan; it's just a gift.
Yeah. Well, no, and I asked the question just because I do see that a lot. When somebody, they make it when the rest of their family maybe never has, and then there's a whole other mindset about, kind of releasing some of the guilt of not taking care of everybody and all that. So it's kind
Yeah.
of an interesting situation. But
Yeah, yeah. It was, and I did help people. I did help my family. When I really made it.
hmm.
That's when I bought my mom, a
Mm.
condo. I bought her a
Yeah.
house. I bought
Yeah.
her, I bought her a car. Like my mom doesn't need or want for anything.
Yeah.
she sacrificed all of her life working 2 jobs,
Right.
raising 3 kids, never took a dollar of food stamps,
Mhm.
nothing, and so, I mean, that's the least I could do, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
I didn't help my dad much, but, he didn't, I don't feel like he really deserved it, but yeah, like my sister and stuff, I helped as well, and,
Mm-hmm.
my sister unfortunately never got out of that poverty mindset.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of my family, like, they got out of it, but they went from poverty to just middle class. Like they
Right.
became a teacher or a TSA agent or, something like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot better than what we were doing when we were kids, right?
Right.
But to me, it was just like, I'm sorry, but like, I want something more,
Hmm.
I don't want I don't want mediocrity.
Right.
I want something amazing. And so while I was making $200,000 a year as a nurse practitioner, I wanted more. I wanted that time freedom.
Hmm.
Like I was working 60 hours a week. I was working at this urgent care job, this ER, and then I'd pick up extra shifts doing some other things and whatnot, trying to pay my student loans off. And, I didn't want any debt at all. So I did everything I possibly could to get out of debt, even pay off my house. And so when I started this course business, I really had no clue what I was doing. I just knew that I needed to at least try something that had the potential of developing passive income stream and so
Yeah.
developing passive income stream. So, I started the process at the men's health clinics that I started.
Okay.
They were doing good. I was making an extra $20,000, $30,000 a month from that
Okay.
while still working. And I started the process there. I hired another nurse practitioner to see patients for me, et cetera. But I still had to manage them. I still had to take the liability of employees, et cetera. So when I started the course business, I knew that it was going to be fairly hands off, minimal employees, generally
Hmm.
passive in nature. And so I went into it just with no expectations whatsoever. And I just began producing some content, you know, videos, articles, etc. And I only targeted mostly just other nurse practitioners. And the messaging of that business really resonated with a lot of nurse practitioners and medical providers. And that messaging was, get out of the rat race of healthcare, stop working for people, start your own practice. That's kind of that was the value proposition really.
Right.
And it really resonated with people and it went viral within that niche, viral. I'm talking about 1,000 views, guys.
Mm.
Like not a million, a
Right.
thousand. But when there's only 300,000 nurse practitioners in the country, that's actually quite a bit. So,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
went kind of viral, and I started it off as just a blog at first.
Nice.
That's literally all. I didn't really sell anything. I would do
Yeah.
consultation calls with people to help them, start their own practice. And so I was like, I'm going to create a course. So instead of doing all these consultation calls with people, let me just put this into a course format that's on demand instead. And let me just see what happens. So, over a very long weekend, I sat down at my dining room table with my laptop and I spent probably 20, 25 hours and I just cranked that course out.
Mm.
And then I recorded it and edited it, etc. And so it was all said and done probably about, I'd say maybe 2 weeks or something. And
Wow.
then I launched it to my audience that I built through the blog, and I made like $50,000 in 7 days. And I was
Wow.
like, okay, this is something. This
Yeah.
is wow. I made 50 grand, in 7 days without spending a dollar marketing. I was like, I'm on to something here. I was like, I'm going balls to the wall here.
And what did that mean? Did that mean more courses like that built on the one you built, or what did that mean?
Yeah, so I've always been a all or nothing kind of guy. I just always have. I mean, it was
It's a
feast
good
or
quality
famine.
for an entrepreneur.
Yeah, right. It's
Yeah.
feast or famine growing up. It was all or nothing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Hmm.
Like a treat was going to Golden Corral once a year, and you better believe when I left there, I was 20 pounds heavier. You know, it was all or nothing, right? So I just went all in on it, and so I developed a new course every single month. Like, so,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And that
developed.
same audience just kept buying because that's one of the, that's one of the great things. If you have, customers who continually want more product from you, then that puts you in a really good position. So it's
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then so I just created a course every single month. Found out that there is buyer fatigue, within an
okay.
audience, right? So that's when I had to diversify and then begin marketing, and actually doing some more outreach and start building the audience through paid advertising and affiliate programs and those sorts of things. And so over the first year, so I launched that first course in March of 2020. And by December, I released a new course from March through December every month. And by the end of December, I remember looking at the numbers and I was like, man, I did really, really well this year through this business. And
Wow.
my accountant was like, dude, do you realize that you made $1 million this year? I was like, yeah, I kind of realized it, but I didn't really realize it, And so February of 2021, basically a year after starting this business, I paid my house off.
Mm.
And, I was essentially, then I was debt free. I literally had no debt at all, zero,
Yeah.
none. And that's just when I started really hitting it even harder because I was extremely money motivated. And so I kept
Mhm.
producing more courses. I'd hire other people to build the courses for me. So I'd start leveraging the work of other people. And, by the end of 2021, we did $2 or $3 million. And then by the year 2022, it was like 4 or 5. And I was just like, by 2023, 2024, it was, I looked at my brokerage account and I was like, I could just call it quits right now. I could easily generate $400,000 or $500,000 a year through dividends alone at this point. I could just call it quits.
That's so great. So there's a lot that you must have been learning along the way. I mean, even that piece, like, how much about investing did you know before this?
Not really a whole lot. I mean, I had a little brokerage account, that
Hmm.
I'd throw some money into. I'm making $250,000 a year as a nurse practitioner. I had my 401ks and my IRAs and all that standard,
Right.
stuff. But I had a post tax brokerage account, and I
Hmm.
would throw some money into some hot stuff. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just gambling.
Yeah.
Like, but once I started, like once that brokerage account hit $1 million, post-tax brokerage account, once that hit $1 million, I really realized I was like, you know what, I got some real money here that I need to be investing appropriately.
Right.
And so that's when I went from, just being 100% business focused to being really investment focused as well. So then I had to earn my finance degree through podcasts as well. So all self-taught. I still manage my brokerage account by myself. I don't have a financial advisor.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
impressive too. Yeah.
yeah. So I do it
Well,
all myself.
I love this on so many levels, and I feel like a lot of people listening are in some profession where they could probably share their expertise and their knowledge in some way and help other people, who are coming up or practice development is a great area because as you know, you get out of medical school or dental school or whatever, and nobody's taught you anything about business, but half the time you're expected to go open a practice. And then you know how to be a dentist, but you don't know how to run the business. And, it's not that fun. I mean, I know that personally. So it's a great area. And then when you expanded, were you still focused on that same niche, or did you go and start building courses for other types of folks?
No, I mean, I still focused on that value proposition of escaping the rat race. I mean, we
Okay.
still predominantly just targeted nurse practitioners.
Wow.
What we found was that a lot of physicians assistants were buying our courses, a lot of chiropractors were buying our courses, a lot of
Mm,
MDs and DOs were buying our courses as well.
okay.
And so I realized that this was applicable to, a lot of different people. So at that point, it was just more or less, how do I continue to extend the lifetime value of each customer? I don't want to be a fly by night, one time treat and street kind of business. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
wanted to increase that lifetime value of each customer. And so that's when that's when I had to be really creative and figure out what are some other types of courses that I can create now, because you get to a point after 20 courses where you're just like, I don't really know what else to create now.
Right, right.
We're generating $150,000 a month in sales from the 20 courses that we have, but
Yeah.
I don't want to stop growing. So I had to be very, very creative and figure out what are some other course ideas that are still applicable to my target audience, to my student base, my customer base. And so that's when I started thinking a little bit outside the box and started thinking to myself, okay, now I'm a business owner. What are some other things that I can develop that would still be applicable to these people? And so I started diversifying out of like clinical and practice startup education and went into as well. I created a course on how to lower your taxes as a practice owner.
Hmm.
So I
Interesting.
consulted with like a
Yeah.
tax attorney and a CPA to help me build that course. And then I created one
Okay.
about asset protection. Then I created one about investing and stuff like that. And those courses were hits because it was still applicable to, to the same target audience. So I did have to be creative in terms of still extending the lifetime value of each customer within that little space.
Right.
Once I scaled this business up to a point where I was able to have a pretty substantial, exit event essentially.
Hmm.
I still kind of run the business in a way. I mean, I'm mostly just like the face of it. I still have
Okay.
the strategy and that kind of a thing, but private equity investors came in, that kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I was able to learn that, that process. And so now I've diversified out of that. And while I'm still involved with it, just because I enjoy doing it,
Right.
I broker practices now. So, I went through the process of selling a business and then selling my practices as well.
Yeah.
And so I know that. So now I broker practices as a side hustle now, just because it's fun to
Yeah.
talk to these bigwigs at private equity firms and try to sell a business to them. It's like
Wow.
car sales times 100. You know what I mean? It's like being a realtor times 100.
Yeah.
And so I've done that, and then I also started a new business called ProCourseStart, where I teach people how to start a continuing education course business, like what I
Mm.
did, because
Okay.
there's not a lot of people out there in this world who have built an 8-figure continuing education course business, and so
No.
that knowledge that I have is extremely unique, and I feel like that if I would have just called it quits and retired and just went fishing all day and whatever,
Yeah.
I'm really leaving. I'm leaving some valuable information. I almost feel like I'm stealing that away from the world when I could contribute
Hmm.
back and teach people how to do this, because there's not a lot of people who've done it, and so that's kind of my baby now. So
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that, especially because I've been working on courses and yeah, I really focused in when you were saying you sat for that weekend and wrote it up and then recorded it in 2 weeks because, that's been my holdup is recording it, not really knowing if you're putting it together the way it should be, if you're making it look right, that whole thing, you can get really in your head with all that stuff. And so I love that you've created this. And is this for anybody, developing courses in any industry or area,
yeah, it's for anyone who's focused more on, I guess you can call it professional development education. You
okay,
know,
okay, good.
someone who wants to start a business on how to teach someone how to quilt or
Yeah,
something like
okay,
that, this
right.
isn't going to be all that applicable to you. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But if you are, if you know, if you hold any kind of professional type, higher level kind of information or knowledge, and you want to teach that to higher level individuals, versus just the general population, then it's completely applicable. I mean, we've had, I actually had a contractor take our course, ProCourseStart
Yeah.
Blueprint, and he wants to teach other contractors, do whatever within the contracting business world or something. So,
Right.
yeah, so I mean, a dentist takes our course, and then you have a contractor over here who's taking. We've had an electrician take our course, so it
Yeah.
doesn't really. It's the same principles,
Hmm.
professional development, education, really. So
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I'm thinking about myself, but I'm also thinking of Tony running the show because he's got like, 30 years in the podcast world, like early when it was radio. So anyway, Tony, are you listening? This would be a great thing for you. But so what kind of qualifies you to jump in and do your coursework? Anything in particular? Do you have to?
no, nothing really. I mean, as long as you have some kind of professional knowledge that you want to share to, other types of professionals, really. I mean, the
Hmm.
way I kind of frame it is if you're sick and tired of your knowledge working through you and you'd rather have your knowledge work for you instead,
Hmm.
then, maybe consider starting a continuing education course business, a
Yeah.
profession focused course business, because it's a great way to develop a passive income stream. It really is. It's the beautiful thing about a course business is that it's generally passive. It's not 100% passive. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, it's partially passive. You still have to put some work into it.
Yeah. That's the
Building.
super interesting thing, excuse me, for about passive income. It becomes passive at some point, or pretty passive, but it doesn't start out passively. It's like,
No.
and people think, I don't know what they think, but there is definitely the upfront work to make it ultimately somewhat passive.
Yeah, I mean, even investing in bonds, which is
Exactly. Yeah.
practically that it's passive. You do nothing. You invest in some bonds, you get your interest paid to you, and you get the principal paid once the bond expires, right? You still had to do the work to get the money to invest in that bond, right? So
Yeah.
like there's still some work involved, correct? So there's no such thing as 100% passive income. There just
Mhm.
really isn't. And so with a profession focused course business, you're going to spend 80 to 120 hours building out the business itself in your first course. And
Mhm.
then to keep the business operational in a way that's going to position you best for success, you're still going to have to put 5 to 10 hours a week into it,
Right.
developing content and stuff to build your audience. I mean, so you can't just set it and forget it. It doesn't work that way. If you do that, it's gonna just fizzle out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's the other thing is there's this, well, and of course there's the marketing and everything else that goes with things. But so how do people find out about this? Where do we go to find out how your course works? Unless maybe you want to just give a quick summary. Like what would somebody expect if they want to start this program that you have?
Yeah, it's just ProCourseStart.com is the website. We have a mastermind, and then we also have the ProCourseStart Blueprint, which is a step by step guide on actually how to do it. If you're more of a DIY type of person,
Right.
then you can just take the ProCourseStart Blueprint. It's 15 hours long. It guides you through the entire process of starting the CE business all the way to selling it.
Okay.
And then our mastermind's more of a hands-on mentorship kind of a thing. But yeah, I mean it's a pretty straightforward process. I would just say that you need to have at least a general idea of what it is that you want to teach. Like what's your value proposition? Too many people when they start a business, especially a continuing education course business, they don't put enough time in developing the value proposition of the business
Yeah.
itself.
Hmm.
Most people don't even understand what even a value proposition means.
No.
If you break it down, it's the value you propose to the world. That's what a value proposition is. So like, what's the value that you want to propose to a certain group of people? So like, what problem are you going to solve, basically? So like, you got to really put some thought into that. If you don't have that nailed down, then you're starting your business on the wrong footing. So
That's a great
something I
point.
would.
Really great point, because it forces you to become really clear as well while you're developing this value proposition. And you think you're clear until you start working on that. And yeah,
Yeah, no, 100%. So you gotta make sure that's crystal clear. So
yeah,
the equation for it is, what blank problem am I gonna, what blank problem affects blank
hmm,
people for your target demographic, and what's the solution I'm going to develop for it. That's basically the
yeah,
equation. So you got
yeah.
to answer that. You got to write that down. And using AI tools now, you can prompt ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever with a basic value proposition and help and have it help you flush it out. So.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, I assumed you were using some AI. I mean, it really changes anything creative that the person is doing. So, before I get to that question, though, I wanted to go back a bit. So, when you were a nurse practitioner working before, when this just started and you were just getting ready to kind of build your first course, I mean, what kind of time did you have to put in to make this happen? Because you had a full-time job, that was pretty demanding. So if somebody's listening thinking, I'm killing myself at work, like how would I possibly, and I have a family, where am I going to find the time to do this? Is it possible?
Oh, 100. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course it is. I mean, I was working a full-time urgent care job, which was 40 hours a week. I was
Right.
picking up extra shifts other places, and I was still able to do this. Um, you know, it takes about 80 to 120 hours to build out the business itself. And so what I usually tell people who, join our program is that if you can dedicate 5 to 10 hours a week to this, then in 8 to 12 weeks, you should be able to have the business started and done. So we're talking about an hour a day in the morning or in the evening or something,
Okay.
and
Okay.
an hour of focused work, not BS work where you're scrolling through Instagram at the same time. I'm talking about an
Yeah.
hour of focused work. And so, an hour a day for 8 to 12 weeks, and the business should be done. The course should be done. You should have some content developed, etc. And so it's not a huge ask, really. It's go into it with very low expectations. Go into it with just thinking to yourself, if this generates an extra $5,000 a month, cool. But
Hmm.
it has the capability, it has the possibility of generating a lot more than that. So,
Hmm.
really, anyone can do this if you have an extra 5 to 10 hours a week. That's pretty much all you got to
Okay.
invest in this, and then you got to invest some money into it. I mean, $10,000, give or take.
Okay.
It's not a huge investment. Yeah.
Right. Right. Not for the return you could potentially get. So, um, you know, you brought up another interesting point, though, which is the expectation. And, I think a lot of times when, somebody's listening to somebody who's at the eight-figure mark at this point, and they want to replicate what you've done, in their mind. I mean, there was so much. I hear so many successful people who are so amazing, but they didn't start out being this, at this level, obviously. But I just think it's interesting to adjust your expectations so you're not like, I want to have an eight-figure business when you start out. I mean, you can think that, but there's a fairly decently long road to get there. And I just feel like sometimes there's this gap between the beginning and the success you want. And it's a little hard to manage that sometimes, I think. Like, it's easy to get impatient or give up or, just set your expectations poorly. I don't know if
Yeah.
you.
No, I agree with you. One rule of life is to expect nothing and just accept everything. I mean, that's just life. Relationships, business, health, whatever. If you have no expectations, you can really never be disappointed. And if you just accept what happens, then you're going to be better off mentally. You know what I mean? If
Mhm.
you have a bunch of expectations that don't meet the goals and the expectations that you set, basically, then that can really destroy you mentally. But if you just accept what happens, then you can just pivot
Right.
from it and move on. So,
Yeah.
so if you go into this with just very low expectations, then if it doesn't work out, then you're not going to be extremely disappointed.
Hmm.
what a lot of people don't realize is that this business that I did, I mean, this was business number 5 or 6 for me. It was not my first rodeo. You know what I
Interesting.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
this was not the first business I ever started. I mean, it was
Oh,
business number 5 or 6 or something like that.
interesting.
And out of those 5 or 6 businesses before, only one of them really was a success. That was my men's health clinic. The other 4 or 5 were they just kind of fizzled out. They didn't really do much, or they were total losses.
Huh.
And if I
Okay.
would have gave up, then I never would be in this position right now. I'd be still working at some ER or something.
Okay.
And at the same time, though, too, is that there is some luck involved. There just is.
Hmm.
I mean, for me to be able to grow a business to 7 figures in less than a year is extraordinarily rare. That is not the that's not the standard by any stretch of the imagination, guys. By your 5th or 6th business, your chances should increase significantly because you've learned a lot of lessons. You know what I mean? You know
Yeah.
what to do right now, but at the end of the day, you got to there is some luck involved. You got to sprinkle some luck on top of it, and my luck was that when I launched my very, very first course in March of 2020, well, what happened in March of 2020? COVID hit in March of 2020.
Yeah.
And so what happened was that all of these professionals now couldn't go to continuing education conferences because they shut them down for 2 years.
Yeah.
So they had to now take their education online. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. If COVID never would have happened, this might not have turned into $1 million business. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
COVID was going to hit. I didn't plan for that. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's the kind of evidence, though, to me, that shows up when you have a vision for something, you do want it, you're willing to put the hard work in, and sometimes, I'm pretty woo-woo, but sometimes the universe just conspires to put a few things together for you that make it happen. So I don't know if it's luck or something beyond us, but I do think that that's what happens, and sometimes it happens the opposite way. We've all had that real estate experience that
Oh yeah.
didn't go right, and it wasn't our fault, um, but that's great. I love everything you just said. So just to kind of wrap up on how you might be using AI in this new world maybe some ideas to make this a little easier for people coming into it, because there is some help from AI. It's like a great intern that you can use to help you.
Yeah. When I started in 2019, 2020, there was no such thing as AI. I mean,
No.
it was there, but not to what it is now.
Yeah.
I didn't use AI to help me build a course until probably 2023. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so I
Hmm.
had to do it the good old fashioned way. I actually had to write this stuff and make PowerPoint slides and stuff. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
I actually had to use my brain.
Yeah.
Now it's a total game changer. I mean, you can crank out these courses in 3/4 of the time now,
Mhm.
and that's just doing just the grunt work for you, building out slides and stuff. I mean, it makes your life so much easier. And so if I would have had AI back in 2020 when I first started this, there's no question in my mind I'd have been at least 50% more efficient. I would have been able to crank out so many more courses and stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, you need to be utilizing AI to help you become more efficient and productive. But what I see in a lot of people that I mentor and consult with in this space is that they end up relying too much on it.
Mhm.
And the stuff that they then end up producing is very generic, very AI voice sounding.
Yeah.
Some of the concepts they don't go together like you think they are. And so you got to just use it as a tool. You can't rely on it. And so many people out there are just thinking they're going to strike it rich by just utilizing AI to help them build a business and to create products and stuff. And the thing is, though, guys, is that you're not doing anything special. You might think you're being very clever, but you're not, because everyone else is doing the exact same thing. And so use it as a tool to help you be more efficient. But at the end of the day, you still have to prompt the AI with the appropriate spark to start that fire, because it's not going to just start the fire by itself. So you still have to put some thought into this and prompt it with the right stuff. You know what I mean? If you can do that, then it's a great tool, but don't expect it to spark the fire for you. It's not going to.
Yeah, I love that. That was brilliant because, yeah, it is, everybody's looking at it a little bit like a get rich quick kind of deal. And a good product is ultimately what is selling this. And if somebody, I mean, I do remember the product I bought from one of the big gurus out there on money, and I was all excited about it. And, it turned out to be a really poor product. I mean, it was a course. It had almost no substance to it at all. And I never, that was the end of me following this person and ever buying anything again. So, because I really had better expectations than that. So, no matter how you cut it, you're looking to have repeat business with this, with, people, and a poor product ultimately will end you, I think. But
No, yeah, 100%. Yeah, you have one chance to make a good impression on someone who's buying a course from you, and if it leaves a bad taste in their mouth, you don't expect them to ever buy something from you ever again. They're just not going to. So
yeah.
you got to make sure it's solid and very valuable, and that you actually put some thought into it. You can't expect AI to do everything for you. So.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. Okay, well, Justin, this has been so inspiring and insightful, and I think you've given us a tremendous amount of really great information today on, many fronts: money, business, the course building world. So once again, I would just love for you to, just let people know how they can find the course. I'll also put it in the show notes, and why. Why should they find the course?
Yeah. Yeah, you can go to ProCourseStart.com. That's that's our website. You can go to ProCourseStart.com/podcast/money, and I'll make a landing page for this for this
Oh,
episode here. Then go there and
thank
get
you.
a 10% coupon code and whatnot for the blueprint that we have. You can join our mastermind, but I mean, I guess I'm not trying to sell anything here. It's if you want to be able to build a professional development course business, a profession-focused course business, a continuing education course business, if you're wanting to build it the right way, and you're wanting to build it in a way to where it can springboard into a 7 to 8 figure business, then ProCourse Start can definitely help you do that. If you're just needing assistance just developing a course and throwing it up on a landing page, honestly, what I'm going to provide you is total overkill. So my goal is to help people actually build an enterprise level course business, not just a fly by night, putting a course together, throwing it up on a sales page and putting some ads out there. That's not how you build a 7 to 8 figure course business. And so that's what we do. We teach you how to build that 7 to 8 figure enterprise level course business. That's what separates us. And my personal experiences are in there, my failures, my wins. You can use ChatGPT and Gemini all you want to help you do this, but at the end of the day, ChatGPT didn't stay up all night, multiple nights, worrying about things like I did. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's great. Thank you. It's making me laugh because I think ChatGPT could have told you, what to do, how to navigate those feelings. I mean, it helps you with everything these days. So it's so crazy. But thank you, Justin. I really, really appreciate your time today. And I hope it got people's, kind of minds thinking about what else they could do out there. And yeah, great conversation. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Thank you for having me on here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, these are really the kind of conversations that really light me up. I just find the whole thing super interesting, gets your ideas flowing and your own creativity moving. So I really love this. And audience, thank you. Thank you for being here, watching the Money and You show, listening to it. You can find us on all the podcast platforms. And if you would like, subscribe, review us, that would be fantastic. Keeps us able to bring great guests like Justin on the show. So you can also find us on the Limit Free Life YouTube channel, and I will put the very generous 10% off coupon information from Justin in the show notes. So thank you so much, and we will see you next week.